Please bro, thank Drag Fox here. Sorry for not posting a lot, and if I do like yawn or like you don't hear any voices during the recording, that means I either am sleeping for like a little bit and cut off the video. But anyways, I'm gonna continue what if Deku was an enderman because I did like listen to it and I want to continue it. So basically where we left off is where I'm gonna skip to the heroes versus villains training with All Might. All Might comes in and does explain the exact same thing in anime. And hold on. And he does pull out the suits. And for Deku's hero costume, it's kind of like Deku's outfit is like kind of like this, like mainly this. Imagine if this was Deku right now. But Deku's outfit mainly looks like this, like, and it was a beautiful outfit, by the way. And everyone was looking at his outfit, but the thing that stunned them the most is how Deku's costume mainly complemented his skin and little patch marks of actual human skin and his hair. Like, it literally looks very beautiful, and it looks very ancient as well. Which, that was the style that Deku was looking for. An ancient, good robes that looked very good. And they are like fireproof, because he knows that he had a feeling that someone is gonna have a fire quirk and he needed to be prepared. And when people saw like the homemade crystals that Deku added to his hero costume, they asked if it was actually part of his costume or something else. But the thing that surprises them the most is how the crystals shimmered in the light. Anyways, I'm gonna skip past that, but the outfit does look very beautiful. And All Might does the little spin the wheel thing in part A and part B. Well, part A is Deku and Uraraka. Uraraka is like a little bit scared of Deku because of how his body is and the way he looks. Is like very menacing, but he's actually a very chill person. And Team D is Bakugo and Todoroki, because I want Ida to switch with Todoroki and it will be like a good story. Hold on. Bakugo and Todoroki versus Uraraka and Deku. And since there's a lot of people in Class 1A that doesn't like Deku because he was like a quote-unquote teacher's pet for them, but he's not a teacher's pet. Deku's like very chill and very much willing to do his work without even listening to the teacher. And one of the people that was close to almost being bumped into him during the race was Todoroki. And now Todoroki has to go against him, as Deku is the hero while Bakugo and Todoroki are the villains, as they had to act like the roles of themselves. While Deku is like outside and they were getting prepared, Deku does look on the windows, and he does point this out to Uraraka how the door seems to be jammed by something that is willing to put their quirks at risk. Well, Deku doesn't mainly use his quirk, as he grabs a dirt block. By the way, he grabs a dirt block and makes it into a bow and arrow. As Uraraka asks how did he do that, and he pulled out a piece of paper explaining how his abilities work. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm gonna do another creepy what if. If you guys actually want to see that one, please tell me in the comments below. Anyways, let's get back to the story. Basically, once the timer goes off, in their little earpieces, All Might says, "Okay, heroes could go now." As Deku does grab onto Uraraka, Uraraka is like a bit nervous because how his body stature looks like, he is pretty terrifying. But he's a very chill guy, as I said. He teleports to the roof of the building and then manipulates a bit of dirt that was still left in the sand into an arrow. As there was a security camera up there, and they all see like Uraka and Deku as he points the bow and arrow down, and he shoots down. As the arrow mainly manipulated itself into the ground and full on like stuck everything. As Uraka said, "Why did you do that? That was pretty useless." Deku then he pointed to the door of the roof to entrance as they both went down, and then Uraka realizes the reason why Deku shot the dirt arrow down instead of, as she thought it was useless, it was actually useful, because the way how it is, Todoroki froze the building, but since the nature around the building was like pretty hot and humid, and when Deku shoot the arrow, it causes the ice to melt in a way, because the heat from the dirt caused the ice to melt. As at the moment, they all just felt like water on their shoes, except Deku because he's wearing no shoes. As they completely start running, as Deku uses his eyes to look around, as he pointed to a door and then grabs Uraka and like brings her into another room, covering her mouth, as in that room there's a security camera, and Uraka is like struggling, but Deku puts another hand, his finger across his mouth and said, "Shh." As at that moment they hear Bakugo screaming, "Where are you, Deku? I'm gonna murder your ass." As at that moment Uraka realizes and keeps quiet. And then Bakugo starts charging down the hallway after hearing Deku's voice, which Deku manipulated into sounding like he is like far away, and Bakugo fell for it completely. As Uraka and Deku teleported into the room with Todoroki behind a pillar. As Deku points to the missile and tells Uraka to go with finger hand signs, while Deku causes a distraction. As Deku acts like he runs in by teleporting outside the room and then opening the door. As Uraka charges in and makes the exact same noise as his footsteps. And it sounds like Deku is the only one there, but there's actually two people. As Todoroki was gonna fire an ice beam at him, and then he hears, "Hero teams win!" He turns around and sees Uraka. Bakugo was pissed, and when they all came back, and All Might asked, "How did you do that, and how did you know the dirt will melt the ice in the hallway?" As Todoroki looked and said, "What?" As All Might replays the entire clip of what Deku did, Todoroki and Bakugo see how Deku made a bow and arrow out of dirt, made an arrow out of the remaining dirt, and then shot to the roof of the building. Thinking it was nothing, they walk down and sees a lot of the ice has melted. Deku then explains how the heat from the earth, the heat that the sun was giving onto the earth, which was on the soil, helped him made the arrow and bow. If Deku would have left the bow there, the ice would not melt. If he shot an arrow through the crack of the roof, it would melt. Anyways, that's me explaining that, sorry. Anyways, Deku was like clapped in like everything. But one downside that moment said that you did not let your partner do a lot of stuff. Instead, you were just trying to, as Deku explained, that he was trying to help her, not getting found and not getting hurt because of how Bakugo's temper was. If you have not known from the explosion to my glasses, it was pretty bad. And at that moment, they realized that Deku's not wearing his glasses. And I did get a comment like, yeah, Deku does need to see them, as Deku does like keep his hair over one of his eyes, and they were surprised how he's not attacking them because they're looking at him directly in the face. Which Deku is surprised and said, "Why?" And then he wrote, he's not saying, he's writing them down in pieces of paper that he has, and he said, "Why do I not have a feeling of attacking?" Which is strange because As I'm still like going with the Matt Pat theory that the Endermans were previous people, and Deku does kind of explain this to Principal Nezu one time. But anyways, I'm going way too far ahead or way too back because I continuously forget. Anyways, let's continue. The lunch scene, which I never seen a lot of people done anymore. Anyways, they were going for vice president, and since Deku's strategies were like very well, they slowly voted for him. But a lot of the people in class, when they do not like the idea of being run by an Enderman, which is reasonable. Deku is technically a human being, which is actually not reasonable. As then lunch came, Deku is sitting by himself until Uraraka and Ida comes up and sits next to him. Because Deku's genes are Enderman-like and human-like, he was basically outcast from the humans. The Endermen slowly learned to appreciate him and being a sign of hope for them, being able to get out of the end and fully add themselves back into society. And now, Deku was like sitting in like one of the tables as the alarm happened. Deku and the other students came, and they were all running out. Ito tried to get his attention as Deku put his hand on his shoulder, and as he lets out a grumbling scream, alarming a lot of the students into like a scared and paralyzed state. As Deku looks at Ito and says, "Go." Well, not go. He looks at Ida into the sign of saying go. Ida does explain why it's all happening, and it's just the media, and they don't need to be worried about it. As they all calm down and then slowly move back into their classes, and Ida said, "Why did you do that? You could have just let me do." As Deku then stops Ida there and pulls out a piece of paper and writes down like he was just trying to help in a way that would stop a lot of people, and he knows that an Enderman scream mainly means injury or in anger. As Ida said, "Were you angry?" Or Deku said he was injured because someone stepped on my foot. And Ida said, "Oh, okay." Anyways, let's just continue this. The USJ arc. In this case, Deku did like revoked himself and put a lot of the stuff on Ida because how his leaderism, how he was much more of a leader than Deku, and he could speak clearly instead of Deku. And now Deku is like literally standing there. The USJ are once they got in the USJ after being explained by 13, Kirishima says, "Oh, they even have fake villains." I think this is enough for today. I'm leaving it off on a cliffhanger. Sorry, guys.